The sensation of fullness is set in motion as food moves from your mouth down your esophagus. Once it hits your stomach, it gradually fills the space. That causes the surrounding muscular wall to stretch, expanding slowly like a balloon. A multitude of nerves wrapped intricately around the stomach wall sense the stretching. They communicate with the vagus nerve, up to the brainstem and hypothalamus, the main parts of the brain that control food intake. But that's just one input your brain uses to sense fullness. After all, if you fill your stomach with water, you won't feel full for long. Your brain also takes into account chemical messengers in the form of hormones produced by endocrine cells throughout your digestive system. These respond to the presence of specific nutrients in your gut and bloodstream, which gradually increase as you digest your food. As the hormones seep out, they're swept up by the blood and eventually reach the hypothalamus in the brain. Over 20 gastrointestinal hormones are involved in moderating our appetites. One example is cholecystokinin, which is produced in response to food by cells in the upper small bowel. When it reaches the hypothalamus, it causes a reduction in the feeling of reward you get when you eat food. When that occurs, the sense of being satiated starts to sink in, and you stop eating. How do schools of fish swim in harmony? And how do the tiny cells in your brain give rise to the complex thoughts, memories, and consciousness that are you? Oddly enough, those questions have the same general answer: emergence, or the spontaneous creation of sophisticated behaviors and functions from large groups of simple elements. Like many animals, fish stick together in groups. But that's not just because they enjoy each other's company. It's a matter of survival. Schools of fish exhibit complex swarming behaviors that help them evade hungry predators, while a lone fish is quickly singled out as easy prey. So which brilliant fish leader is the one in charge? Actually, no one is, and everyone is. So what does that mean? While the school of fish is elegantly twisting, turning, and dodging sharks in what looks like deliberate coordination, each individual fish is actually just following two basic rules that have nothing to do with the shark. 1, stay close but not too close to your neighbor. And 2, keep swimming. As individuals, the fish are focused on the minutiae of these local interactions. But if enough fish join the group, something remarkable happens. The movement of individual fish is eclipsed by an entirely new entity, the school, which has its own unique set of behaviors. The school isn't controlled by any single fish. It simply emerges if you have enough fish following the right set of local rules. It's like an accident that happens over and over again, allowing fish all across the ocean to reliably avoid predation. What is bipolar disorder? The word bipolar means two extremes. For the many millions experiencing bipolar disorder around the world, life is split between two different realities, elation and depression. Although there are many variations of bipolar disorder, let's consider a couple. Type 1 has extreme highs alongside the lows, while Type 2 involves briefer, less extreme periods of elation, interspersed with long periods of depression. For someone seesawing between emotional states, it can feel impossible to find the balance necessary to lead a healthy life. Type 1's extreme highs are known as manic episodes, and they can make a person range from feeling irritable to invincible. But these euphoric episodes exceed ordinary feelings of joy, causing troubling symptoms like racing thoughts, sleeplessness, rapid speech, impulsive actions, and risky behaviors. Without treatment, these episodes become more frequent, intense, and take longer to subside.
Many people know that the kangaroo is a marsupial from the family Macropodidae. There are about 69 species of kangaroos in the world. They live in Australia, New Guinea, and the nearby islands. Also, everyone knows that kangaroo females have a special pouch where they carry their cubs. But not everyone knows that a kangaroo has a very short pregnancy term. A baby is born about a month after conception. However, this is not a grown animal ready for life in the outside world. The size of a newborn kangaroo is only a couple of centimeters, and it weighs about a gram. In this embryonic state, the cub makes its way into the pouch, and the tiny kangaroo does not yet have hind legs, so he has to use the front ones. Moreover, the mother does not help him. She only licks the path to the pouch, where the cub immediately starts sucking on a nipple. Well, he doesn't actually suck it, because he's not yet able to. He's too small. Milk is secreted into his mouth with the help of a special muscle. Another peculiar thing about the kangaroo is that it has 4 nipples in its pouch, and each of them secretes a different type of milk. So kangaroos have 4 types of milk depending on the age of the cub. Sometimes a female has 2 cubs of different age at once, and both are still in the pouch. In this case, 2 kinds of milk are secreted. In about 190 days, the cub becomes large and strong enough to climb out of the pouch. At first, he only sticks his head out, and this can continue for several weeks until the cub feels safe enough to get out. He then starts spending more and more time in the outside world, and eventually, in about 235 days, he leaves the pouch for the last time.
In 2019, a study led by Zurich's Crowther Lab analyzed satellite imagery of the world's existing tree cover. By combining it with climate and soil data and excluding areas necessary for human use, they determined Earth could support nearly 1 billion hectares of additional forest. That's roughly 1.2 trillion trees. This staggering number surprised the scientific community, prompting additional research. Scientists now cite a more conservative but still remarkable figure. By their revised estimates, these restored ecosystems could capture anywhere from 100 to 200 billion tons of carbon. accounting for over 1/6 of humanity's carbon emissions. More than half of the potential forest canopy for new restoration efforts can be found in just 6 countries, and the study can also provide insight into existing restoration projects like the Bond Challenge, which aims to restore 350 million hectares of forest by 2030. But this is where it gets complicated. Ecosystems are incredibly complex, and it's unclear whether they're best restored by human intervention. It's possible the right thing to do for certain areas is to simply leave them alone.
One of the most striking properties about light is that it has color. To understand the phenomenon of color, it helps to think about light as a wave. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about waves in general. Imagine you're sitting on a boat on the ocean, watching a cork bob up and down in the water. The first thing you notice about the motion is that it repeats itself. The cork traces the same path over and over again, up and down, up and down. This repetitive or periodic motion is characteristic of waves. Then you notice something else. Using a stopwatch, you measure the time it takes for the piece of cork to go from its highest position down to its lowest and then back up again. Suppose this takes 2 seconds. To use the physics jargon, you've measured the period of the waves that the cork is bobbing on. That is, how long it takes a wave to go through its full range of motion once. The same information can be expressed in a different way by calculating the wave's frequency. Frequency, as the name suggests, tells you how frequent the waves are. That is, how many of them go by in 1 second. If you know how many seconds one full wave takes, then it's easy to work out how many waves go by in 1 second. In this case, since each wave takes 2 seconds, the frequency is 0.5 waves per second. So, enough about bobbing corks. What about light and color? If light is a wave, then it must have a frequency, right? Well, yes it does, and it turns out that we already have a name for the frequency of the light that our eyes detect. It's called color. That's right, color is nothing more than a measure of how quickly the light waves are waving.
We dream to fulfill our wishes. In the early 1900s, Sigmund Freud proposed that while all of our dreams, including our nightmares, are a collection of images from our daily conscious lives, they also have symbolic meanings, which relate to the fulfillment of our subconscious wishes. Freud theorized that everything we remember when we wake up from a dream is a symbolic representation of our unconscious primitive thoughts, urges, and desires. Freud believed that by analyzing those remembered elements, the unconscious content would be revealed to our conscious mind, and psychological issues stemming from its repression could be addressed and resolved. We dream to remember. To increase performance on certain mental tasks, sleep is good, but dreaming while sleeping is better. In 2010, researchers found that subjects were much better at getting through a complex 3D maze if they had napped and dreamed of the maze prior to their second attempt. In fact, they were up to 10 times better at it than those who only thought of the maze while awake between attempts, and those who napped but did not dream about the maze. Researchers theorize that certain memory processes can happen only when we are asleep, and our dreams are a signal that these processes are taking place.
One of our species' trademark expressions is the smile. And smiling is a form of communication. It's not just about how you feel, it's about how you want to make others feel. We use smiles to put each other at ease, to bring people together. So it may seem a little weird that we show off our teeth when we want to be friendly, because teeth are for biting. And many other mammals do bare their teeth as a way to make a threat. Just think about the snarl of a wolf or the open-mouthed display of a baboon. It's a shorthand way of saying, like, back off if you don't want these to go inside of you. It's pretty unusual that our smile evolved as a sign of friendliness, but there may be some clues to why it happened in the behavior of our primate cousins. See, many primates show off their teeth for non-aggressive reasons. For example, rhesus macaques make what's called a silent bared teeth expression as a sign of submission. When a dominant or aggressive opponent is threatening them, they'll show off their teeth as a signal that they don't want any trouble. In other primates, including some macaques and baboons, the same toothy expression shows up when the monkeys are greeting, grooming, and embracing each other. And one of our closest cousins, chimpanzees, show a clear connection between the silent bared teeth expression and social bonding. The more they flash their teeth at each other, the better they get along. If that sounds familiar, it's because it is also true in humans. Smiles make us feel more comfortable with each other.
What makes certain expressions universal? And why are they expressed in these particular ways? Scientists have a lot of theories rooted in our evolutionary history. One is that certain expressions are important for survival. Fear and surprise could signal to others an immediate danger. Studies of humans and some other primates have found that we pay more attention to faces that signal threats over neutral faces, particularly when we're already on high alert. Expressions also could help improve group fitness by communicating our internal states to those around us. Sadness, for example, signals to the group that something's wrong. There's some evidence that expressions might be even more directly linked to our physiology. The fear expression, for instance, could directly improve survival in potentially dangerous situations by letting our eyes absorb more light and our lungs take in more air, preparing us to fight or flee. There's still much research to be done in understanding emotional expression, particularly as we learn more about the inner workings of the brain. But if you ever find yourself among strangers in a strange land, a friendly smile could go a long way.
And so there's two things there. One is smaller projects that have a bigger impact and a societal impact kind of get ignored. Also, niche technologies that we can build on for future things will not thrive, will go away. A lot of the things that we're reaping the benefit of today was because of the basic scientific research that we funded in the 60s and 70s and 80s. So if we stop doing that kind of funding by the government, after a while, we just won't have anything to build on top of. We'll just be advertising and to each other and connecting with each other on social media, and that's it. And that's not where we want to end up. So there is a role for government in terms of promoting scientific research for both the sake of scientific research and also for commercializing those scientific research. The government is the only entity that can take a slightly longer point of view in terms of these developments. But I think it's good for that to happen, because sometimes good ideas need a little bit of funding before they can become bigger ideas.